all the same things that I want for my family and friends. Do you understand what I'm saying here? It's not difficult to figure out. It's all cut and dried. It's clear. That's the way God operates. That's the way God rolls. Logic, wisdom, knowledge, intellect, reason, what makes sense. Okay, and that's it. And wants you to be empowered. God wants you to be, so that you can go out and really be his friend and affect change. And remember, even though you say, I'm just a drop in the bucket, it doesn't matter. Drops in the bucket add up. It's a heck of a lot better than just a little bit of hot air, a little bit of steam in the bucket, right? And that's what a lot of people have. That's why in the book of Revelation it says that God's going to spew you out if you're lukewarm. And to me, lukewarm people are those that withhold something from God. They're not willing to give it all up and say, God, you know what? You say so. If one human being, if me giving up all that I have means one human being will live, then I must be willing to lay it down. If that's what you ask me to do, that's what I must do. But how many of us would do that and give up everything? See, you see the dangers, a snare to the soul of having riches in this world. You see the problem, what it does to us, how it corrupts our very soul, and the danger therein in going to the wrong place from here. You see the problem? So, God doesn't ask us to give it all up, but he does ask us to do things like tithe, to pay 10% of our income, just to break that cheapskate spirit. God owns everything. But he wants us, in being his friend, to go out there and demand justice ourselves. He's going to act through us. He's going to manipulate our thoughts if we welcome him in, if we allow him to manipulate our thoughts. And then he manipulates our words if we allow him to. And he manipulates our behavior. Do you understand? If we allow him to, if we welcome him in to do these things. And so we allow him to render us in the image and likeness he wants us to have. Okay, minus the automaton. We keep our individuality. So it's a beautiful thing at the end of the day. And that's what we've got to teach and preach. It's the most important thing I do in these videos, this video series I run, is just try to help people to understand the tie between economics and being free, and how necessary it is for us to be free in order to be happy. It's got to be at the top of our laundry list. That's it. And, as Americans and, being responsible for setting an example all over the world by extension, people looking to us, it becomes even more important. It's your lot. If you're born in America, then you've got a bigger responsibility. Like it or not, you suck it up and say, okay, I've really got to take the bull by the horns here, and I've got to demand justice. What's it going to take? I mean, Trump, if he doesn't do something to abolish the Federal Reserve, really, I think they've got to go. Who cares anymore? JFK tried to do it. Just follow through with what JFK tried to do. Trump, if you're for real and you want big changes, I mean, you talk big about how you're ashamed of homelessness in America. What are you doing, man? You've got to get a hold of inflation and debt and all this stuff. This is what's killing people. What are you doing to make sure we have sound economic policies that create a rising tide of prosperity that lift all boats, that don't lift some up to the highest heavens and swamp others? That's what's still going on. And that's what these people, the evildoers, love. This is what's imperative. This is the aspect of the economy they've got to keep intact. Because the only way they're going to extract the exorbitant rents and mortgages they do is if people are living in utter and abject fear of homelessness. That's it. People living one paycheck away from homelessness. You hear it all the time. I mean, we're in a lot of trouble, friends. And Trump better really do something, man. I mean, shake it up, man. I'm serious. You better, man, if you're for real, if you're not just deceiving us and just wanted to be president, but I still have some faith in him because I think he believes in prosperity is the best path to freedom. You see how the establishmentarians hated Trump and still do. So a lot of them, but that anger has kind of subsided a little bit. But we've got to understand that this is important, very important. Nothing could be more important than our freedom. And that means to be free, to not die out in the cold, man, and not have all the problems in society that are associated with desperate poverty. The high crime rate, the vast majority of crime, this is statistical fact, is committed because of financial desperation. Even things like rape, I never would have thought of that. I heard it on the mainstream media. that they did a study up in Reading where they figured, hey, that's because, well, I guess they surveyed the rapist. Well, I couldn't afford to take my girl out on a date. And so I just got, I mean, and then we're taught, well, do we need sex or don't? Men don't know. I mean, you go to the colleges and universities and they pretty much infer that, oh, you need sex to be healthy. But is that true? There's no evidence to support that. So no, I mean, a man is going to sin. He says, "I need sex." That's your problem. God didn't tell you you need sex. Mother Nature will take care of you in a dream, with nocturnal emissions. So, really, that's the truth. And there's nothing that the medical establishment can tell you about that. But yet they teach men and women how to play with yourself. Okay, they teach you how to wank, basically, in health science courses, and inferring that you've got to do this for your health. But it's not true, just like the vast majority of things we hear. So, men, no, that's no excuse that, you just have to have sex. You don't have to have sex, and that's just a matter of fact. Okay? So, I mean, if you want to have sex, then that's your issue, and, it's between you and God. I mean, and, but the only time it's really proper and right is in a good marriage. That's it. Am I sitting here on a high horse? Oh, heck. I mean, I'm as weak as they get probably when it comes to these things. I mean, I like the female of the species a lot, a lot, a lot. And God knows it. I'm not going to hide that from anybody. And that's, the way I feel. I just think it's a beautiful thing. These procreation drugs God put in our body. And, there's these feel-good drugs that, hey, you do this thing and you appreciate the opposite sex, and I'm going to make you, glad you did. It's going to feel good. Okay, so, but it gets carnal, then it's all about lust and this and that, even though we rationalize, say, well, it's just about doting over God's finest creation, the female. And, women don't have the same issues as men. We've got different physiologies. Okay, it's a little more serious. Why, again, women are better than men in that sense. They're more mature. They don't have these issues nearly as much. I'm not saying they don't have their own issues, but they're not nearly as indulgent as guys. Let's face it, men. I mean, this is our issue. They've got their own issues, but on this issue, they're more powerful. They're superior. They're above men in that regard. Well, before I get into some recent events and talking points, notes that I've taken throughout the week, I just wanted to sum this up as best I can to encourage the righteous to know that, look, things are going to turn around. The worm's going to turn. God's will is going to be established on earth. The good guys are going to win this thing. Okay, that should bring both comfort and encouragement to the righteous. And a warning, a caution to the evildoers. And even if you're inadvertently evil, remember that 1% you're withholding. You've got to purge it. You've got to say, God, burn that out of my system, okay? Because I do not want to live in a place where the evilest of men are ruling over me. And that's what it can get you. If you miss the mark, okay, and you accept this society the way it stands in any way, shape, or form, and this has everything to do with money and the paradigm thereof and the influences thereof, and the advantage-disadvantage paradigm, okay, then you're going to go to that place with those money lovers. Okay, that's it. You can't withhold 1% from him. You've got to believe absolutely in universal freedom. You've got to believe absolutely in universal equality. At least let God give you the ability to understand this is it, man. You've got to be all in order to make it into that better world. You pray the Lord's Prayer. Well, don't do it in vain. Remember, God's will is going to be established. Believe it. And imagine, spend time imagining what that world of tomorrow is going to be like. All those things that aren't going to exist there that exist in this world. What a departure it'll be from this hellhole, basically, that's run by evil men, cramming their will down your throat from birth. And you just being told that you got to learn to accept it, and it shows common sense and that you're pragmatic and practical. Just go out and make a lot of money and be successful as defined by the world, and that's it. That's the best you can do. Okay? Well, I'm telling you, not according to Scripture, not according to God, and His will is very clear. So I'm just saying, friends, that I don't want anybody to go to a bad place, and I certainly don't want anybody's blood, metaphorical blood, on my hands or on my head because I didn't warn you. So I'm leading all horses to water, and I can't make any of the horses drink. Wicked, in between, and the righteous. I mean, we're all together here. And we just to be God's friend, we've got to be humanity's friend.